This is Lewis up for Boxing Social in association with Empire Fights on Our Kings. Delighted to join Tony Sims here on a nice Monday evening as we roll very close to Christmas. But before we get into that, how's things, mate? How are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Lewis. And you, mate?
All good, mate. All good. I saw everyone back in the gym today, obviously after the successful show about 10 days ago. Yeah, I guess just firstly touching on that. Yeah, how do you think the show went? Obviously, your son Charlie's first show and obviously your show as well. Yeah, how do you think that went at York Hall?
Yeah, no, it went really well. Well, it was Charlie's show. I was just helping him
Okay.
out really as much as I could. But yeah, it was. I thought it went really well. It was, as you see, it was full up in there, and had a great crowd in there. And it was a shame we had a couple of pull-out fights just the night before, really. So we went from 8 fights to 6 fights, but it still went really well. And I think everyone enjoyed the show, and it was a great professional debut for Charlie, really, as a promoter.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess you say sort of when you look at that show and how it all went. As far as debuts go, and I'm sure as the notice given wasn't sort of ideal with about 5 weeks' notice. Shows how impressive it was to see something, I guess, so good in such a small amount of time.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the York Court is obviously an iconic place to do a show. And I've been to a lot of shows in York Hall when they're half empty, and it's not the same. But when it's full up in there and the balcony's full up, it's just a great atmosphere in there. And the place was heaving in the end, especially when Jimmy Sains and George Liddard come on. It was you couldn't fit another person in there, and it was a great atmosphere.
Absolutely. And I guess as 2024 draws to a close, how would you look at this year for your stable and how that's gone? Obviously a lot of good year, a good year for George Liddard and Jimmy Sains, and how would you guess assess 2024 with your in the gym?
Well, it was obviously mixed because I had Joe Cordina lose the world
Mhm.
title this year. Um, but Conor Ben come through his case, which was a good thing. And as you say, my prospects have been coming through, and Jimmy Sains and George Liddard. So, um, yeah, I'm just looking forward to 2025 now. And both the young boys are out on January the 31st. So, um, I'm looking forward to that really now.
Just before I do touch on Fury Usyk, I did see obviously George Liddard now fighting Derek Asase instead of his name's gone from me.
Jordan Reynolds.
Jordan Reynolds, that was it. Sorry. What was the deal, I guess, with it not being Reynolds next?
I heard that he'd injured his back, so he couldn't make the fight. So they brought in Derek Zazi. So he's a tough fighter, and that will still be a good fight, 10 round fight.
Interesting, interesting. But yeah, I guess we'll move on. Yeah, big boxing action on the weekend. Tyson Fury losing again to Oleksandr Usyk, who retained his heavyweight world titles. Yeah, great fight on Saturday night. And what were your thoughts on the occasion in the heavyweight division?
I thought it was a brilliant fight. I thought it was better than the first fight, and I thought it was really close as well. I thought both the fighters was high. They're obviously both really highly intelligent inside the ring, and they were both cancelling out a lot of the others' work. But I actually edged it to Tyson Fury for the win, and but I thought it was close. I thought it could go around either way, and it was such a difficult fight to score because a lot of the rounds was really tight and they were really close. So it was a fascinating fight to watch. I really enjoyed watching it. Like every round was like you just couldn't take your eyes off it. And technically, for the purists, it was a great fight to watch. And I was hoping that Tyson got the decision, but as I say, you couldn't say anything against Usyk getting a decision. He was a great fight and a close fight.
When it comes to Alexander Usyk, and he's not he done it on Saturday night, but I guess throughout his career, have you ever seen a fighter that has the ability to, I guess, turn the tide or turn the screw and go through the gears as well as he does?
Yeah, like you say, he kind of does the same thing though. He kind of, I don't know whether it's because of the size difference all the time, but you see it in the Joshua fight and the Tyson Fury fight. He kind of loses the early rounds, and then like when the midway point comes, he steps on the gas, and his work rate's second to none in the second half of the fight, and he just seems to burn the big guys out, burns their energies out, and he's so clever in what he does. And when you was looking at that fight, early doors, like the first 4 or 5 rounds, it was all body shots. He was hardly ever going to the head, so he knew what he was doing. He was going to try and slow Tyson down in the second half of the fight, and then obviously midway he started head hunting with his punches, and but it was a difficult fight to score because while he was doing that, Tyson was obviously walking him down, and he was behind his jab and he was landing right hands, and it was a very, very, very difficult. Like every second of that fight was, you could tell, was mentally draining on both of them.
That's the question I was going to ask you. I guess focusing on Usyk's point of view, when you talk about him being clever and, as you say, like sort of giving away the early rounds, do you think a lot of that, a lot of that ability to make his opponents tired is also sort of the mental capacity he has to give his opponents so much to think about that is mentally draining for the opponent when it comes to fighting Usyk?
Yeah, exactly as you say there. He drains opponents, and they're big men as well. The energy levels he drains out of them, and if you watch him, he's always fainting and moving on his toes, and even when he's not throwing, he's looking like he's going to throw, and you just don't know what he's going to do next. His angles are brilliant when he spins off on his angles, and he's a very difficult man to beat. And I think what gives him that little bit special about him as well, he can take them big shots off them big fighters. He gives away so much weight, like 50 pounds, and he can take them shots, and he comes back. So he's a great fighter. He's beat everybody, and every fight he steps up to the plate as well. So you can't take that away from him. I just felt that Tyson just maybe edged that fight, but everyone's opinion is different. So he's also different when you're watching it on TV. Like
Yeah.
if you're live ringside at a fight, you tend to see a different fight than you do when you're watching it on TV. It's like even this morning I walked in the gym and we were talking about the fight, and I had him winning the fight just, and then George Liddard and Jimmy Sains had Usyk just winning the fight, and then John Ryder had Tyson Fury just winning the fight. So out of 4 people, it was 2 against 2. So how difficult the fight was to score. Thought it was very, very close. Like Eddie Earn said, it was probably been a good draw, really.
Yeah, that was what I was going to touch on next. I think I was sitting next to, I was watching it with John Hedges, and I said to John after the 10th round, I said, the scorecards could be mental here because it's so hard to score. I guess for yourself, what was sort of the reasoning you felt like Fury done enough to win the fight?
I just thought he'd come out a lot better this time, a lot smarter. He wasn't burning energy. He took the centre of the ring. He was he had his left lead arm out long so that Usyk couldn't get near him. As I say, Usyk was targeting the body, but I felt like Fury was getting through the backhand, and it was difficult. It was difficult to score because the shots that they was firing, a lot of them weren't landing on either one of them. So um, I just felt by the end, he kind of. I just felt by the end, I just had him edging the fight. But as I say, you can't complain either way. It was that tight, and a lot of people went for Usyk and other people went for Fury, and I was just one of the ones that felt that Fury just edged it.
I do have to ask what you made of obviously they had the introduction of the AI judge, and he had it 118, 112, which I guess
Mm.
that had favouring it to Usyk. Do you think that was sort of, I guess, what did you make of that? That was obviously not subjective scoring, that was sort of scored by a computer, but do you think that was quite wide, as you say, for if you was edging it to Fury?
Well, then you're only really giving Fury 2 rounds out of the 12, then, aren't you? So
Yeah, yeah.
how accurate that could have been. I mean, even giving Fury 4 rounds out of 12, you know, listen, everyone sees it different. As I say, I was watching it on TV, so it might have
Yeah.
been different when you're in the arena. It always is, but you know, yeah, I didn't think the AI was very that accurate, to be honest.
Mhm. And when it comes to Oleksandr Usyk, amongst the greatest at heavyweight, although he's not had a long career at heavyweight, do you think what he's done in such a short amount of time warrants him a place of one of the greatest of all time?
Oh, he's beat the best fighters of this era so far. He was unified cruiserweight champion. He's moved up and he's become unified heavyweight champion, and he's beat the two best heavyweights of our time in Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury. And he hasn't just beaten once; he's beaten twice each. So he can't do more than that. Obviously, he beat Dubois as well. People say it was controversial, but you got to put Dubois in the top 3, 4 heavyweights in the world. So he's beat all the top ones, and you can't do more than that, really. Um, it just depends what he's going to do next, really. He's talking about fighting Dubois again. I mean, if he beats Dubois again, he beat everyone twice over, and you can't do more than that, really. And they're the three best heavyweights in the world right now, really.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And I just want to move on from talk of Fury Usyk. Didn't know if you had a chance to watch Johnny Fisher against Dave Allen. Obviously, I know there's a lot of controversy surrounding that fight. Yeah, did you get a chance to see it? And what did you make of I guess the result of the fight?
I did watch that. Yeah, it was a great fight, to be honest.
Yeah,
You couldn't, like as you say earlier, you couldn't really take your eye off it. I feel like
yeah.
if that fight was topping the bill at the O2,
Mhm.
it would have been phenomenal to watch. I mean, me like everybody else, the first 4 rounds I had Johnny skating it, and then he got caught with that big shot in the fifth, got put down, and then the rest of the rounds was Dave Allen's, and obviously you got to feel a bit sorry for Dave, because look, at the end of the day, I think everybody knew that he won the fight, but you've got to give Johnny Fisher a lot of credit. I mean, he got up off the stool every round and fought his heart out. And when his legs was gone, you could just see him getting up off the stool every round, and he weren't right, he weren't there, and he hung in there. And at times, I didn't know how he was hanging in there, but he did, and it made for a great fight. And I think everybody would love to see that return fight. As I say, they could definitely top the bill at the O2, and that would fill it up. I think it was just a fantastic fight to watch. It was an heavyweight spectacle, and I think they've got to do the return. That's got to be made, because Johnny won't be able to move on after that result, and Dave Allen really was a little bit hard done by. So I think that's return written all over it.
Mhm. Absolutely. A final question for myself, and something I did want to get your thoughts on. Obviously, Moses Itauma, stopping, I guess, a former guy of your stable, Demsey McKean. I didn't know if what you made of that fight. Obviously, Itauma making a big statement as he pushes towards world level.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. I mean, no one actually really see that happening. It was all over so quick, and as you say, I trained Dempsey before, and Dempsey's a rugged fighter. Like he went 12 rounds with Bergovich, and Bergovich hit him with some big bombs as well. And he's a tough fighter, and I expected him to give Moses a few rounds, but what a phenomenal performance. You know, he worked Dempsey out straight away, and the punch that he finished him with was a great shot. And he's an unbelievable talent. He's been over my gym sparring a few times, and he's a lovely kid as well. Really nice kid. Him and his brother, and he's got a fantastic career in front of him, and so exciting as well.
Definitely, for sure. Tony, as always, mate, a pleasure to catch up with you. Really, really appreciate you taking the time to speak to me. And yeah, have a great Christmas, mate, as it's about 2 days away. And yeah, have a good New Year. I'm sure we'll be catching up in the new year, mate. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Lou. Good speaking to you,
Cheers,
mate.
mate.
Have a great
Thank you, mate.
Christmas yourself.